Divorce sucks. Welcome to Divorce with Integrity. This is the most important and open discussion on the internet about the positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant aspects of moving from matrimony to acrimony to harmony.
All right, I can't hear you. Guys, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we can hear. Barry, we can't hear you. Barry, can't hear you. Barry's his engineer today.
You could do sign language and then we could try to translate because it's a podcast. So
we can hear each other. So Esty, meet Johnny. Johnny,
Hi.
tell us about you.
Nice to meet you.
all right, until Barry gets audio, I'm gonna kick us off.
Yes, please.
Barry, as soon as we can hear you again, I'll let you take over. There we go. Start it with a cough. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Divorce with Integrity. I'm Esty Starr. We have our amazing host who is currently silent, Barry Shore. The wonderful Lori, the wife expert, and our new friend, who I'm going to let introduce himself because I've got no information. Hi, new friend.
Hi.
Fun dogs in the background.
Yep.
He's in Los Angeles, California with me. Not with
And
you.
me. Hi.
Yeah, we're all West Coast. That's exciting.
Okay, wait. So you said hi, but tell us your name. Tell us like just a bullet point background story.
Are you talking about me, of course?
Yes.
Since everybody knows Lori.
Yes.
Everybody, we all
John.
know each other. We all
Oh.
talk every week or every month.
Uh-oh. Barry's trying to say something important.
Yeah,
looks like.
Barry, we still can't hear you, but
Okay.
we'll get there. Okay. So tell
My
us
name
your
is
name.
John. My name's John Ariostegi. I'm in Manhattan Beach, California. I'm a financial advisor for a living, and I'm divorced, and I have 3 children.
Awesome. All right. John, financial advisor, divorced, 3 children. Great. And we are all watching Barry mime something very important. And I don't know if he's now just doing that for fun or on purpose, or if he can hear us or not, but this is going to be really funny. I think we're live streaming. So hi to everyone who's watching.
It's so funny because it's like you keep talking, and it's like life is never perfect, but you just keep going, right?
Work with what you've got. So I'm going to kick us off with a question that I got recently from someone, which is I'm trying to think what a good phraseology for what he was asking. I think it's kind of, let's go with how do you move on? Let's do how do you move on with integrity? I kind of like that one.
Okay.
Because until you move on, you are still deeply engaged with this person that you've separated from. But the point of divorce is to disengage from something that was not working for you. If there are children, transmute it into something new. If there are not children, then let it go. And then how do you move on from what was into what is next? And John, I'd love to kick it off with you since you're new here.
All right. Well, I think it's different for people with younger kids, older kids, and no kids. So I would say that I was divorced when my kids were young. And I went to a mediation class, and I remember the first slide they showed was love your kids more than you hate your ex. And that was one of those things. Yeah, it was just one of those things that kind of stuck in. Being a financial advisor, I've had quite a few families that I've worked with. And that's my first, I call it a sales pitch. It's like, do what's right for your kids always, and you will feel good. If you feel good, then it will definitely help the situation. Now, if the other side is angry, can't help that much, but it won't hurt. I think when the kids get a lot older, I think one of the things that you need to do is balance being very open and honest about what's going on. And you have to be really careful about not bashing your ex. I think if you lived together, now that you're divorced, you probably would disagree just as much as you would if you were together. So I think that's important to realize that you both have different ways about attacking issues. And it's always a negotiation. It's always an agreement. And, if you, have your foot down, I don't think you can move on if you're stubborn within your own ways without willing to work with somebody. To be honest, I've never come across anybody that's not had kids that got divorced. So don't think I can add anything to that situation.
Okay. And I love that you've got a kid in the background eating right now.
Yeah. Hey, David. We had a late start today. So yes, we got kids in the background and dogs and everybody.
I love it.
That's awesome.
And I love that line. Love your kids more than you hate your ex. That is such a good line.
Oh my gosh, it is.
Miss Lori.
Yes,
what
love.
are your thoughts?
I like that too, because I don't believe like when people start to hate each other or that makes them divide versus the whole reason this podcast exists is because when you find a reason you married that person, you started out in love, you had babies with them, most people. And then all of a sudden, when you hate your spouse, then your children see, well, wait, I'm half of that person that you hate. Do I get that other half of hate? So to me, it's when you love your spouse, even though they're over there and you don't agree with them, you show your son or daughter that you still love.
I love that. So neither of you answered my question on moving on, which is totally fine, because there were good insights anyways. And so I will answer my own question on moving on in two ways. One, I think when you don't have kids, because I have friends and people that I've spoken to who are divorced or getting divorced and do not have children, then there's just a situation of assets, right? And there isn't really anything else happening. And of all the people I've spoken to, the ones who have had the smoothest transition, they let it go, right? Like it's stuff. And all of the resentment and all of the injustice and all of the fighting over the stuff. And yes, I know you need it. And maybe you're poor and you don't have money and you feel victimized, but the sooner you let it go, the sooner you're able to step into your new life. Right. And it is much easier because you really can say goodbye to this person, right? You're splitting up from them because you no longer want to be intimately connected with them. You don't have any ties other than stuff. When there's business partnerships, which I've also dealt with, it's a little harder. And then you have to decide, is this someone I'm still willing to engage with in business or not? And it is hard. It's really hard, but part of the transition is letting it go and building your new life. So and it is in many ways so much easier when there's no kids because you really can be done. Like, yes, you've got memories. Yes, you got pain. You can work through all of it, but they're done. When there are kids, your moving on includes keeping that person with you in a new context. And it's the transition from, as one of my mentors said, cohabiting to co-parenting. And that the moving on is in the transmutation of the relationship as opposed to the disintegration of the relationship. And I'm going to say for the 15th time how much I love John's line of love your kids more than you hate your ex, because that is really the best way to transition, right? You've got children. You ostensibly love your children. As Laura said, as I've said so many times, these kids are half you and half the other person. Yeah. What can you do to create the best situation for the kids? Right. And that to me is the easiest way to move on. So now I've answered my own question. See, Barry has all the questions always.
Right. So
I've got to like
that's
pull them
Johnny.
out of the air now.
Yeah. So normally Barry's got all the questions. He has the thousands of people that text him or email him questions.
But we have a title. We have a title. I see it on the screen now.
So what does it say?
Today had a topic. And the topic is, it's easy for you to say integrity. You don't know my ex. So now, being that not only are 2 out of the 3 of us divorced, but all 3 of us have dealt with many other couples who are divorcing. What would be your advice for someone who says this statement, right? I can be in integrity, but my ex is a nightmare. They're coming after me. They're malicious. They're emotionally immature. They're evil. They're like, I'm okay. I'll do what you say. I'll be nice. I'll behave. I'll do all the things, but they're a nightmare. So, John, I'll go to you first again. What would you say to someone like that? Or what have you said to people who I'm sure have said that to you already?
Right. Yeah. So I'm kind of corny with that stuff. It just says, be yourself. Don't get into the, what was the guy's name? One of the motivational guys I went to go see said the best way to win a fight is to avoid the fight. When you see thank you, Damon, Dale Carnegie. And, so if you see the tempers starting to rise and get out of control or something, I just back off in that subject there, transition into something that maybe you guys can agree on and come back to it later, table it. I don't know. I just tried really hard not to engage and build the anger. Another one of those tips is when the other person starts raising their voice, you lower your voice. Little things like that. You're not going to change them. Probably. They're not going to change that much, probably. So, just what you said a minute ago, you're going to have to learn to coexist, cohabitat or coexist, as opposed to, living with that person day in and day out. I think when you're transitioning the kids, it's a lot easier when they don't have to interact. The less engagement, the possible. If you have an angry situation, if you can figure out the least number of times to engage with somebody, I've always found bullet points with an email, like just 1, 2, 3, that's it type of thing. Oops, Barry's coming back.
Here comes Barry.
Yep.
Yay.
So I think I answered your question this time.
Yes, this time you did answer my question.
Thank you.
That was good. I like that. So don't engage.
Hi, kids, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Barry, we can hear you now.
The Messiah is about to come. The Messiah is about to come. Hello,
Yay.
wonderful beings. Wow, I didn't even hit a button. All I did is do one thing and I can hit it. Okay. So first of all, I am jumping in and embracing you 3 with a huge hug, just to tell you how much I appreciate you. That's all. And I'm going to start listening so I can be a contributor if you need me. So I'm listening now. Go ahead. Thank you.
Well, I'll quickly catch you up. We started with a question that nobody answered except for me, which I asked. And then I brought up the topic that is on the screen for today, which is it's easy for you to say integrity. You don't know my ex. And John just answered, when somebody meets you with anger and animosity and escalation, you de-escalate, right? You answer fire with water. You answer a raised voice with a quiet voice. You don't engage. You keep things, professional, distant, and you're not going to change them, but you can just keep showing up in integrity and kind of invite them to join you in that way. Yeah, John, does that kind of sum it up?
Yep, perfect.
Cool. And then I was going to go to wonderful Lori and ask her the same question, what you advise people when they say, okay, I'll do it. I'll do what you say, but you don't know my ex or my almost ex.
Oh, I had probably 5. I get up at 4 a.m. to have phone calls. And this morning alone, I had people, they're like, yeah, well, I'll do that. But he, blah, 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 blah. She, blah, 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 blah. It's like, but that's not you. Like you decide, you wake up every day and you get to decide how you want to behave. And if they're going to behave off, that doesn't mean you jump in their boat. You stay here and don't join that. So I call it the temperature. If you want to be 72, stay at 72. If they come in at 105, you don't go up here, you stay here. And sometimes it's hard because this becomes hot and a poke, and you want to go up here to crush them because that's your ego. But we got to pull it in. I have a game I play. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th graders this program called Love for Life, and we call it your monster. So if you're talking to someone and someone's monster comes out, rawr, right, and the monster starts yelling, you can't talk to me. I can't talk to a monster. I have to have my monster come out and they can communicate. But if I keep my monster in, their monster has nobody to talk to and will exhaust itself by screaming. But sooner or later it goes back in. But the trick is your monster wants to come out and you, nobody else, you get to keep it in. And if you can, the other person will die. That other monster will go back in and everything goes back to normal and you can have a conversation.
I love that. That's so cute. When the other monster comes out, if yours doesn't come out, it just has no one to talk to. So it's just like screams and gets tired and then passes out.
Yep. Monsters can only talk to monsters, period.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That is very cool. All right.
Great way to tell 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
Yeah.
They understand
that.
that.
Really well. Okay.
And by the way, may I jump in here? Would you, Lori, I've loved this because you've mentioned the Monsters game before, and you talk about 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, which are approximately, 11, 12, 13, plus minus. And the amazing thing about people that I've discovered over 74 years is that people oftentimes never get out of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Doesn't matter if they're chronologically 22, 32, 42, 52, 62, 72, 82, 9. They stay 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I would like to share one word that I've heard, and I've been listening carefully, not only to what we're doing now, but over the past couple of weeks in working with a number of people, some very high level business negotiations and discussions, which, by the way, oftentimes mirror divorce with integrity or marriage with integrity. And the ability to talk with other people on a, again, very high level, lots of money on the table and all those kind of things, which bring out a lot of emotions. And that word is, and I say to Lori with great respect and love, she taught me this, but. In other words, people say to Lori, oh, yes, or Esty, I'll do that, da, 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 but you don't know. As opposed to, or in contradistinction from, I'll do that, and da, 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 da. You remember, Lori? That's from
that's called the yes and game. I just held
yes, that's from
that yes and. It's an improv game. So when someone says something that even might be negative, like you're a terrible person, you go, yes, and I've struggled. And it's amazing to me how much I've learned compared to how I was. It's the yes and. Carry them to where you want them to go by saying yes.
And she got that because she was in improv for years. And by the way, I say this with love and affection. We're all in improv on a regular basis because that's what life is called, right? You got to improvise. Stuff happens. If the words or the letters B-U-T, and I'll add an extra T, by the way, because oftentimes what happens is you get the butt. You know, you've been the butt of jokes or you've been the butt of something else. And oftentimes when people turn around, you know what you see? You don't see the back of their head or their shoulders. You see their butt. And I can tell you this specifically. I was in a wheelchair for 4 years. I won't go into my story again because we do that often. But one of the interesting advantages of being, or disadvantages of being in a wheelchair is your perspective of the world changes greatly. Because you're not looking at people's above shoulders and head. You're looking at their butt. And oftentimes it's not very pleasant. So if you can recognize when you use the B-U-T, yes, I'll do that, but, and try, and not only try, utilize the leverage we've given you through Lori and Esty and Johnny to say yes, and then the conversation shifts and you're the one that's in control. The one who's calm is the one in control. So thank you, Esty and Lori, for the opportunity to butt in.
Well, Barry, you can answer the same question, right? What would you advise somebody who's coming and saying, well, I can be in integrity, but you don't know the other side?
I have the question posed to me often because I deal with a lot of people who are going through trauma and drama vis-a-vis physical issues. Again, part of my story is that I became a quadriplegic overnight from a rare disease. Not an automobile accident, not a spinal injury, standing up in the morning, and in the evening I'm in the hospital totally, completely paralyzed. All I can do is communicate by blinking my eyes. And I was like that for years. So I have what they call standing. Hello, I can talk about these things. And so when I talk about living in joy, no matter the circumstances, and people come to me and say, yeah, it's easy for you to say, Parachute, because you're rich and handsome, da 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 da. And then they understand this. They understand. Well, yes, of course I am. And they understand they hear the story. So it's not as easy to say yes or and. They say, but I say, hello, let's share. Okay. It's not that I'm trumping you. I'm sharing with you something that is traumatic and dramatic. And I say now, and I urge everybody, the two biggest issues in human beings right now, and through eternity, but right now, these past few years, are stress and anxiety. Anytime you can learn a process that allows you to mitigate, reduce, maybe even eliminate stress or leverage it, is which I teach. I teach people how to leverage stress to their advantage and learn how to be less anxious. Then what happens is your whole world shifts. And I don't mean a huge shift. It's a tiny shift. The title of my new book is called Oh Shift. As I mentioned to you, Lori, and to SD, I'll tell Johnny for the first time, 97.2% of all the people I've worked with for 42 years drop the F in shift, and the other stuff happens. So it's the key that I urge people is you want to reach a level called calm. How do you do that? You learn a or two or three to reduce, mitigate, eliminate, leverage stress and anxiety. And the most beautiful way to do it that I share is learning how to do what I call blab. Blab stands for breathe like a baby. Breathing like a baby means into
I
your
love
tummy.
it. That's a new one. That's a new one.
Well, that's why I gave it to you, FC. You wanted me to answer something that you'd love. It's called learn how to blab, which I do well. But I'm just, I hope that gives you some answer to, and shares and gives benefit to people listening. Well, Johnny, just again, you should know, there are tens of thousands of people that tune into this podcast religiously because they get stuff here that you can't get in the regular course of stuff because we've all been through things and we're sharing deep stuff.
So, Barry, I'm taking your answer as just de-stress, right? Yeah, easy for you to say integrity. I'm hearing
if I may, I'm going to say it even stronger. Not even de-stress. I would say a little stronger. Learn how to use stress to your advantage.
How would someone use stress to their advantage? Right? How would you take, again, so is this kind of like, I forgot which karate method. Is it Taekwondo, where like you take the other person's energy to flip them over? So you're taking your ex's lack of integrity to throw them into integrity? Like what are we doing here?
Yeah, explain that. I don't know that
one. So first of all, it's good. It's more jujitsu than Taekwondo or the other ones. Jujitsu is the one that is famous for using the other person's energy. So that's a part of it. The most, I was just on a very important call prior to us. It involved a lot of money and a lot of and stress and anxiety amongst other people, not me, thank God. But we did come up with a wonderful phrase. The first step is the best step. I'll say it again. The first step is the best step. And I learned it because of AA. I'm an addict. I'm a recovering addict. And the concept in Alcoholics Anonymous and those first step programs is then the 12 steps. The first step brings you 50% of the way to your goal. Did you know that, kids? The
Confucius
first
says
step
beginning is
on a
half.
12-step program. Yeah, when that first step happens, you are 50% of the way to your goal. Most people think, well, first step is one step, second step, 50% of the way, that first step. So what is the issue of learning how to use stress to leverage it? I'm going to say something that you're going to mock or you might like. Ready? Smile. When you smile, three things will happen. You will feel better. Whoever you are discussing with in sort of a heated moment will feel, what are you doing? You're not listening. They might get upset, but that's okay. And the third thing that happens is if you keep that smile on your face and you don't say anything, most important thing is to know when not to speak. Big talent, skill. So I teach people, first step is the best step. Smile. It really, it's jujitsu. It takes the other person's energy and like they're thinking in their mind, what is he doing? What are they doing? It's the monster issue that you mentioned, in my opinion, Lori.
Yeah.
I don't find you a monster. I'm smiling. You got this dragon with breath coming out that I can't stand. And you smile. You're a humble warrior.
Right.
I like that
love
one,
that.
kid.
I love it. You know what it reminds me of? So one of my studies in quantum physics, they talk about energies as a pendulum, right? So imagine a pendulum swinging. And so when someone comes at you with their anger, with their animosity, with their resentment, with their revenge, it's a pendulum. It swings at you. Now, if you react to it and engage with it, you push it, you give it more energy, you swing it back, that energy just comes right back at you. And you're just pushing this thing back and forth, adding to it. But if it comes at you and you just step aside, and then it comes at you again and you just step aside, it exhausts itself. It's the same as the monster, right? It's the same as the smile. And I really, from everything you've said, from everything I've learned and studied and practiced over the years, this is the only way. There are so many different explanations, metaphors, examples, but the only way to meet someone out of integrity with integrity is to meet someone out of integrity with integrity. That's it. There isn't another way around it. You stand in your integrity, you smile, you continue to be kind, you don't engage. You continue to engage only at a high level. Right? One of the lines I learned many years ago that I don't have to say very often anymore because I choose a lot who I interact with, which is I only accept and give respectful communication. And if that's it. So if you're giving me something different, that's my answer. I only accept and give respectful communication. Which means that if you're communicating,
I'm in love with yourself, your higher self. I would love to hear Johnny Yu speak. I haven't heard. We spoke on the phone, but I want to hear him either speak to the subject or on another that he chooses.
On the subject of how to respond to negative energy?
Yes, if you would. Oh, by the way, I want to ask a question. Esty and Lori, did you all introduce yourselves at the beginning of somewhat of your background?
No, but it's okay.
We didn't do that. Well, wait a minute. Maybe let's let Johnny give a 2-minute on who he is and why we should even listen to you, handsome Johnny with all that hair.
Well, I did do my probably 30 seconds. I don't know about 2 minutes, but I did give a little history. I'm a financial advisor in Manhattan Beach. I'm divorced with 3 children. As I shared with Barry, my first child was a baby mama, and then my twins I had with my ex-wife. 2 minutes. I give. I,
Let me jump in on this. Because
okay.
Johnny was married 20 months and then divorced 8 years. Am I correct on Johnny?
You're
Barry,
fading.
you're breaking up like a robot. We heard every like fifth syllable.
I'm so sorry. Okay, then I guess I'll just be quiet and listen.
Okay. Johnny, you want to answer the question he posed? Do you remember what it was?
Nope.
Yes, do you remember what it was?
I think the only question so far, Barry just wanted to hear John. Is it John or Johnny? Which one?
Whatever you're in the mood for.
Johnny.
Okay. I think he just wanted to hear Johnny talk, and he wanted a 2-minute introduction, but Johnny seems to be a man of few words, so he gave a 2-second introduction again to add on to his previous 2-second
There was
introduction.
a question he asked before. He said, "Oh wait, go and tell us what you want." Remember?
It was just the response to this, which Johnny answered before Barry got back on.
Okay.
Right.
So I would actually ask Johnny, you deal with money, right? As a financial advisor, and I'm guessing you've also dealt with couples divorcing.
Yep.
What financial advice do you give from your specialty, your background? What would you tell people going into divorce about their finances?
Well, normally, well, not normally, every time I tell them, please find a mediator. Okay. Especially in California, more states are kind of coming in line with California, but especially in California, pretty much you can wiggle around a few bucks here and there, but it's pretty much standard. So if you can agree with a custody schedule with your kids, assuming you have to deal with that, there really isn't a ton of reasons to hire an attorney. Majority of attorneys that we've come across tend to get paid more to fuel the fire, get you angry with your ex. Don't take that from them. We can get, $5 here and $5 there and extra night on Christmas or something like that. They look for opportunities to engage. I will tell you, I've seen, for example, my personal case, I spent over $1 million in legal fees over 10 years. Right? It wasn't just once, but it was just it's. And
sorry, hold up. We're missing so much story. You had a 10-year divorce?
Yeah, my ex married her divorce attorney.
Back up. So many things to share now. Okay. So
by the way, that's what I wanted. I wanted Johnny to speak. I wanted Johnny.
Yeah.
To
Okay.
hear
So
me?
now
I
we're
wanted Johnny
understanding why he only talks in 2 words at a time, because otherwise there's
Right.
just so much. Okay. So you had your first kid from a baby mama, so not a marital spouse, and
Correct.
then you married someone, had twins. Were
Yep.
married for how long?
About 2 years.
Okay. And then after 2 years, you were like, well, this was fun. We have twins now. I guess I'll be seeing you. Look what happened.
We were coming back from a honeymoon, and she decided that she didn't want me to have full custody of my daughter. So we were going to get an annulment, and I had sex with her on my birthday and got twins.
Wow.
Yep.
Because you married her with having full custody of your daughter.
Correct.
At the end of your honeymoon, she's like, nah, I don't want this kid. And then one fun night and twins. So how old were the twins when you guys separated? Were they even born?
Well, when she first was pregnant, we got her a place, and then we found out I was the father. We didn't think I was a father. So then I had to really go find myself. So she lived downstairs. I pretty much took care of the kids and worked. And about 2 years later, I just said, you can't be in the house. Too negative energy. So I got her a place, and that's when she, I guess, started dating her. Well, they're divorced now, but dating her husband at the time.
And the guy she started dating then turned out to be a divorce lawyer, or did she engage him as a divorce lawyer and then start dating him?
I think it was a combo. I think it was pretty much all one thing.
Wow. 10 years.
Yep.
Why?
Because every time they lost, they'd change a venue, which means they have to go to a different court. And then they did the federal state appeals court.
What did they want?
I basically to torture me. But I don't try to talk about myself about all that, because that's a very rare case, obviously. But there are so many, when you talk about moving on, when you have an attorney that is supposed to be your ally, that is telling all the things that you're not entitled to, you're not getting, or it's not fair, and you need to fight and all this, there's no way you can move on. Now trust me, there's just as many probably bad mediators as there are attorneys, but at least they give you an outline of what can be expected. In investments, in life, the unknown is scary, right? So if you go to a mediator and they lay out pretty much custody schedule, I mean, everybody does what we call a 2-2-5-5, right? Some older kids do week on, week off, but almost everybody does the 2-2-5-5. If everybody agrees to that, then your custody fight's over.
What's
right?
I don't know 2-2-5-5.
Like I'll get my kids Monday, Tuesday. The mom has them Wednesday, Thursday, and then you alternate Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh yeah, I hate those.
Yeah, well,
that made me busy.
I strongly agree with that for a couple reasons, but mainly because the court has seen it so many times that if you guys propose that, then 50%, that first step you just took, Barry, 50% of your fight is over.
Right.
So anyhow, that's here nor there. But the point of that is if you have somebody chirping in your ear that is an ally telling you to keep engaging, then it will never end. Right.
So how did it finally end for you? What was the ending after 10 years? Did they run out of courts?
The Supreme Court said that if I anything short of me winning the lotto, if they took me to court, she would have to pay my legal fees, her legal fees, the court legal fees, and any loss of work wages that I would have had.
Wow.
Good. I didn't.
It's not good. Nobody wins, right? I mean, that's that's
just the lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, can you hear me now without me breaking up?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, good. First of all, thank you to Lori for inviting Johnny to be our alternate, as we'll call him for the moment. The story is so powerful, and I think you said the right word, Esty. Wow, because this is not your usual case. However, it is usual on two issues. Number one, there's trauma and drama in any divorce proceedings, whether it goes in 6 months or it takes 10 years and costs $1 million. Trauma and drama is part of the divorce. The ending words that Johnny used are what I want to emphasize now to everybody that's listening. Nobody wins. Nobody wins. Except, or put it this way, yes. And there is a winner. Or it could be both. The winners are the ones who recognize that I am now shifting and moving on to my higher self. Choosing not to battle. Choose to understand that the benefits involved in winning are not the fruits of victory. The fruits of victory is becoming a better, higher level person. Integrity. Johnny, is that fair to say that you
Yep.
are, without putting words in your mouth, far more you, higher self, higher level being than you were prior to this traumatic situation?
I think I'm going to say no, only the fact that my integrity, I feel, and all that has been the same. I will tell you that I've learned to speak. I'm going to use your words. Hear less or speak less, hear more. So I try to use as few words as possible, and I try to listen as much as possible. I will say that that is the thing that I learned probably most with all the depositions in court and stuff is speak less, hear more.
And how many years ago did it
And
end?
by the
How
way,
many
I would
years
be
out are
willing
you?
to say that I'm sorry, I'd be willing to wager, Johnny, that that has been helpful in your business dealings as well as interpersonal dealings.
I think it helps everything. You know, what's that old saying? You know, God gave you one mouth and 2 ears, so listen twice as much, right? So that's
Yes.
a perfect example.
I forgot about that one. That's good.
I like that one. Johnny, how many years has it been since it ended?
Ooh. I'm going to go 4 or 5 years.
Okay. What is different now? Like, what was happening with your kids throughout? Like, were they with you? Were they being shuttled? Like, while this is all in the courts?
I pretty much take care of my kids most of the time. My ex-wife is really into yoga and eating right. She has a great food business. I've helped her support her in her healthy eating stuff, but she's been very, very focused on, you know, taking care of herself. And so I mean, there's not a whole lot of that. I mean, I do everything you have. Yeah. Look, another one of my things I got worst thing was your kids didn't choose this life. You know, you chose it for them. So I do feel a little guilt. So I kind of probably go the extra mile with like making breakfast every morning, as you just saw. You know, those types of things. It's like, you know what? I want my kids to have the best opportunity to move on and have a healthy emotional relationship going forward.
Got it.
Johnny's an incredible dad.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And my next curiosity is what do you say to your kids? Right? I think it's such a great example, right? It's easy for you to say integrity, you don't know my ex, right? So it sounds like, you know, you're taking care of the kids, you're doing the best you can, and you just keep getting dragged through court and dragged through court and dragged through court. And when the kids say to you, like, where's mom? Or why aren't you home? And right, and you're in court for the umpteenth time, what do you say to them? Like, what was your communication to them throughout?
I never trashed my ex. And I just basically said, you know, I'm busy. Majority of the time when you're in the court from 7:30 or 8 in the morning till usually 12 or 1. So very seldom did I miss any quote time with them. Um, a lot of emotional and financial stress because you keep seeing, you know, more court dates, more bills, more of that stuff. And, you know, there's only so much hours you can spend between work. Going back to Barry's question a while ago about my work, I changed. So I'm a financial advisor, right? And I look for people that have a lot of money. And so I found out that, again, sounds so corny, money is not the most important thing, but raising my family was. So I hired a couple partners. I'm very good at getting business, but it's not just getting the business. You have to continually maintain to adjust to their financial situations, the stock market, the bond market, the interest rate. I mean, you have to, there's a whole bunch of other things. So I've circled myself around some people that are very, very, very good, much better than I am at analyzing data and getting things ready. So it's kind of like I'm a surgeon. I come into the office and everything is in piles ready for me to go through. It's all sorted out and they do an incredible job. So, you know, obviously that took away a lot of my income. But for me to have a lifestyle where balanced, you know, I still take care of myself. I work out at least an hour a day. I still try to do what I can for the kids. And then I go to work and then I, you know, I have a kind of a hard stop somewhere between 2 and 5 or 6. And then I usually screw around doing emails or reading stuff or whatever. And then in the evening. But I guess, you know, balancing your life, I think, if you aren't healthy yourself, you can't be healthy for your kids and for everybody else around you. So you got to work on yourself without being selfish, right? That's a tough one.
Yes, and because to be selfish is the ultimate that you can do for everyone else, right? The only people who ever accuse someone of being selfish are saying, don't take care of you, take care of me instead. We have this like weird culture where the people who criticize others for being selfish, all they're saying is, I don't want you to take care of you. I want you to take care of me, even if it contradicts what you need to do for you. But the essence of it, to take care of yourself so that you are best prepared to serve and take care of all those who depend on you and who you can give service to. I don't know. I think we confuse a lot of these things because we misunderstand them and we get bought into other people's agendas for us that aren't our own.
I agree.
Right.
I love it. I'm fascinated by your story. 10 years is probably the longest I've heard. I remember when I was starting my divorce process, I was like, 3 months. That's it. Like, this can't possibly take very long. One of my mentors was like, yes, it might take 6 months. 2.5 years later, I'm like, everyone gets divorced eventually, right? Like, eventually this ends for everybody.
Esty has 5 children.
I have 5 kids. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Long time.
yeah, it took a while. And that 2-2-5-5 schedule that you said,
Yeah.
I think when we first split, my ex proposed like a 2-2-3-2 because our youngest was not even 3 yet. And I was like, that level of chaos is something I cannot handle in my life. Like, you never know who's coming or going. The kids never know, like, no Tuesday is the same. No way. I hated week on, week off for the same reason. Every other week.
What is the best? Because I don't know that answer. And
I don't
people
think there's anyone best. I think it's each family and each couple, like in each family unit, has to figure out for themselves. I don't think there's one best.
Okay.
I just know for me, the chaos of 2-2-3-2, I am a systems person. I need a certain level of order in my life for my nervous system to just hit base level. And also for my, like, some of my kids are like me, like they will just make their bed because it makes them happier that way. Like, that's just their wiring. I could not even wrap my brain around like that. I'd have to look at a calendar every time just to figure out who was going to be where.
Yeah, that's tough.
But I think for some families, it's probably ideal, right? Because you never go more than a few days without your kids.
That's right. Should we ask Barry if he can talk?
Yeah.
I have
Hey,
a
Barry.
personal question for Johnny. I have a personal question for Johnny because it's so fascinating what you are doing and going through and shifting in your life. And how does is your first child also a daughter, a girl?
My first child is a daughter, and my
What-
twins are boys.
Okay, so how do the kids get along?
Fantastic.
Do they know a difference? In other words, are they brother and sister? That's how
Yes.
they are to each other. Good.
Yes. My daughter
But they're
helped out a lot. My twins.
Oh, very good. So she took the role of older sister, almost mother.
Correct.
How
Very
much
nice.
older is she?
5 years or
Okay.
4 years. You think about that. 4, 5, 4 or 5. Something like 4 or 5.
Very nice.
Spoken like a true man.
Well, their
All right.
birthdays align. Half the year they're 4 years, and half the year they're 5 years. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, this has been an interesting show
By
because
the way,
Barry,
thank you.
questions. So
Yeah. And I can't, I'm like part leading, but part not, because every time Barry can talk, he comes back in. So I'm like,
I know you've
give
been
him the
great,
space,
though.
but then if he doesn't fill it, I'm filling it. But then I'm trying to leave the space. But if he's not in it, I'm filling it. So
I get it.
dancing that dance with you, Barry.
We're doing, I'll tell you, this has been a great one because facing challenges is far more interesting than just having a show and, okay, you go and you go. So this is really a big, wonderful session. I would like to suggest that we do a big closing and we close our show with our hug and our blessing. Johnny, a hug stands for heartfelt, unlimited giving. Permission to do a big hug, and we encourage all the thousands of listeners
I
join
need
Hey,
help
hey,
interpreting.
Barry, you're a
So-
robot again. You're a robot, Barry, robot.
So,
Okay.
Esty, go ahead.
Oh, I'm supposed to. Okay, well,
Unlimited.
okay. Let's do
giving.
the hug. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Barry.
Our blessing go forth. Live
Johnny,
exuberantly.
thank you so
spread
much
the
for joining
seed.
Yeah,
us.
thank you, Johnny.
Your story
Thanks, guys.
is fascinating, and your journey of integrity shows through you and everything you say. So thank you for your presence today.
Thank you guys for the
Thanks,
time.
Johnny. Okay,
was nice.
bye, honey. See you later.
Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Divorce sucks. Welcome to Divorce with Integrity. This is the most important.